Welcome inside Manhattan Beach Studios. I'm Victoria Dennis alongside Meg Burgdorf. This episode brought to you by Golden Spoon and Pony. Joining us is the team that punched their ticket, representing the Miami Mayhem on the AVP League, James Shaw and Chaim Schalk.
Nailed
it.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, anytime, guys.
Happy to be here, for sure.
Yeah,
this is
congrats.
Cool spot.
Yeah, it's super fun. Excited to have you here. Let's just jump right into it. We're going to cover how you guys started your partnership, how you prepared for the league, how the qualification process was, and then what we can expect from Miami Mayhem this season. But first things first, who slid into the DMs?
I slid into his DMs.
Yeah. Yep.
And it was probably about a year ago. Pretty close to a year ago.
Yeah.
Me and Tri kind of were done after our Olympic run. Didn't reach our goals, and so we both kind of were looking for different things, which was fine. I was okay with that, and I was just kind of weighing my options a little bit, and saw him play a little bit in Huntington, and just I basically saw his serve. I was like, man, this guy's bombing. He is bombing serves, and that's the kind of player that I want to play with. Someone who can score points, and I can be like a super steady player that can potentially help this young guy out. And I knew him a little bit before that, trained with him, and we knew each other for sure. But yeah, kind of just slid in there and wanted to get in the sand a little bit to see what it would look like, and we did that. I remember that, which was great, and the vibes were all good. We have very similar goals, and we're both I think similar too, that we're hard workers, and we're just positive personalities that seem like the mesh would work really well. And that's kind of a huge thing for me, looking for a partner. I was like, man, I want to play with someone who I can get along with on and off the court, for one, but then can kind of grow together, vibe together, figure out what we need to do to become a really good team. And him, analytical guy, really, obviously really good athlete too, but he's a smart guy, Stanford guy.
Those Cardinal.
So just ticked the boxes that I needed to see that early on, and then the rest is just build a team, make a good team out of it. Because I've played on a lot of teams, and the best ones I've ever been on are when you find a guy that you can kind of make each other better and make the whole part of the team better than just what we are individually. I think that we're doing a really good job of that, and then we've just only added since then. We added the coach that we wanted, and kind of created I'm kind of rambling, but it kind of created a team that we think can kind of, I know, we think that is built for long-term success. So that's kind of where I'd start. But
who is your coach, and how did you prepare with them for AVP League?
So we work with Mike Plachek. Apparently, we still can't figure out which pronunciation is right for his name, but I think it's Plachek. Sometimes people call him Playcheck. But yeah, he's had a lot of great teams in the past, and I think he's a really smart guy, and I think we both agree he's been huge addition for us this year, and hopefully going forward, and we feel like he is as analytical as we both are. He's times 10 for us, and that's a big part of I think what makes him great. And he obviously runs a great practice too, and he gets us in really good condition. But yeah, he's a big addition.
He's a volleyball nerd and loves watching video. Obviously, he's got Meg and Therese dialed in. Ever since they picked him up, they went off. And obviously, Miles and Andy, they became a top team when he was coaching them. And so looking at it, we were like, man, this guy could be what help us unlock what we want. And yeah, I think he kind of he's really good at building confidence in the team, and runs super good practices. And one of the most, for him, I think he's one of the coaches that cares probably more than any I've seen. That he want when you're winning together, but when you lose, he feels that too. Some coaches kind of go through it, but Mike is. I've almost never seen someone so invested, and he really wants us to do well, which is just a cool feeling to have. Feels like a team.
Yeah, it feels like, I don't know, you played in Europe for, how long were you over there, indoor?
6 different seasons, and then a 7th later. Yeah,
as a setter, indoor. So obviously,
setter and oppo, yeah.
Running the X's and O's. But that's almost a little bit on the European football, quote unquote, side of if the team wins, the team did it, but if the team loses, it's on the coach.
Yeah.
And it kind of sounds like that, he has that mindset a little bit. maybe?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
he
I
like
mean,
really wears it on his sleeve.
for sure, yeah. He does have that. I don't think it's just hard for me to think of beach volleyball like that because it's like we're
Yeah.
the ones losing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I
Yeah.
totally agree. It's going to
It's
be.
different.
It is a little different, and it's also going to be a lot different because starting in Stad in our 2 tournaments from now, he's going to be in the box with us, which is kind of crazy too, AVP
That's-
style, and that's like
yeah,
world
it's
tour. That's going to
exciting.
change everywhere. So coaching,
It's
we're
exciting.
glad that we have a good one that we really trust and like because he's going to be doing even
Yeah.
more. We're going to make him work even harder.
Well, and talking about coaching and the analysis of the game, you have 15-point games
Yeah.
and you have 21-point games.
Yeah.
So how did that play in preparing to play in the league qualifiers, and how do you manage both now that you're going to be playing in the league and internationally at the same time? So strategically, what goes into that game planning?
I mean, it changed from week to week, and as it has in the past with balls, like playing with different balls. You play with one ball 1 week, and then you switch as soon as you're done. You start, tossing around the house and feeling, it's kind of the same vibe. It's like, okay, now I need to get my mind into the frame of, okay, these are 15-point sets. We need to start really fast. Like one of the things we've talked about is starting really fast, because that's a big thing in games to 15. Is you got a 4-point lead, at the first switch or whenever. That's huge. That can be the difference in the game. And yeah, so everything we've done with an emphasis on like games to 15, short spurts, making sure we're really locked in for that amount of time. And then when we go to as soon as that's over, we've finished the qualifiers, or we finished Huntington prep. Then we got right into Ostrava. We're back to games to 21. Any drill we do is a little bit longer. It's a little bit more like, it's crazy I'm saying longer because 21 is not that long. But it feels like a marathon. And so it's more about like length of focus.
Yeah. And what about serving strategy in the 15-point game versus the 21-point game? Anything different?
Yeah, I would say like, so we played those 2 Newland qualifiers. We won the second one. First one, I feel like we probably missed a lot of serves towards like really crucial parts in the semifinal we were playing, Cook and Miller, and it was. I think we played good that tournament. That first one, we were still figuring out the games to 15. That was the first time we ever did it, and like you said, like start fast, keep going, da da da. But like I think what changed in the second one was that we were just like super solid all the way through that one. It just felt like we had momentum the whole time. But we also were like hitting a lot more 80 to 90% serves, getting the other teams in trouble and making them make mistakes, make them play, because we know we can score with our block defense as well. But then I think you can find like 1 or 2 spots in each game where you can really go after it, and he does a good job of that. Where we get up like 6-4, all of a sudden it's like, hey, go rip a couple, and then it's 8-4. Finding times when you have that momentum and then going after your serve, I think makes sense. And then when it is like crunch time, it's like do something maybe a little different or take a little bit off 1 or 2. And I think that both of us did a better job of that in the second one, because I'm just thinking back to the first one, and I remember it was like third set semifinals, and I think we missed 2 or 3 serves. Both of us missed 1 or 2 after 10-all in the third, and that really hurts when you're playing a game to 15. You're like, just all we needed was, and they were like good serves. It's just you're out by a couple inches or whatever. So I think serving, we're going to learn more like playing actual league matches and playing in, because that'll be different too. There'll be no conditions most of the time in stadiums.
Yeah.
No sunglasses.
Figuring out,
no
no sunglasses. Figuring out what is the best strategy, and it's going to depend who we're playing a little bit. Some teams you might want to short serve a guy a bunch, or other. Maybe we'll just unleash and rip. Maybe just give him just a rip serves every single time. I don't know. I know that Taylor Sander was really dynamic last year in the league by just going up and ripping. So that could be a strategy. But I think what makes us a good team is that we have that ability, but we also have the ability to win in other ways. We've won a lot of matches by just having a really good side out for a few matches, or we've won matches by playing really good block defense, and we've won matches by serving really tough. So I think that's kind of putting more tools in the tool belt and just keeping on learning ways to do that. That's kind of what the top we're trying to learn like from the top teams in the world. We're watching like Sweden and Norway and figuring out how they win so consistently. And they don't win because Sweden's not winning because they're just jump setting the whole time. They're winning because they can win that way, but they can also win by playing up and down volleyball. They can win by Amund making a bunch of digs. They can win by doing whatever they need to do to win. And that's kind of just how we evolve a little bit.
I think too, like the difference, what you were kind of getting at too, that there is a big difference in the 15 and 21, and I think what we've learned through that is, you talked about it with the serving, but I think it's just limiting the errors when you're playing a set to 15. I think to a degree, it's the same way when you're playing on the World Tour. You feel like there's not a lot of room for error because everything's at such a high level, especially in an elite level. But when you're playing in a set to 15, errors are crucial. If you keep the ball in, and I think we did in our second qualifier in every way, not just serving, that's a huge deal. You know, if you get called for a double, or if you miss a shot, those are big errors. And so if you just focus on limiting those, you're at least giving yourself that chance to be there when it's 13-12.
What do you think about the new info about the team, like Miami Mayhem, winning the regular season, but the score, the win-loss record is how you qualify for the championship? Whole breakdown.
I think we like it. I don't think anybody's really said anything negative about that. I think it's a positive.
I think it's pretty cool.
Even though I would
cup
love to
winners and then
have
the
an,
champion
yeah, I mean, I would love to have an extra reason to root for my wife and her partner. But I don't need that, like I'm still going to be rooting just as hard for her to win. And I mean, it's, it helps our family bottom line too. So it's,
Yeah, well, let's talk about that, because you are paired up with Molly, your wife, and Kelly, who's your sister team, I guess you'd call it. So winning the cup together. So 2 Olympians, 2 Shaws. What's that going to be like?
I mean, it's going to be really cool. In a lot of ways, we sort of had that dynamic when we were in the fall. They weren't together yet, but him and Tony were like starting to see each other a little bit while we were in all those Asian
We saw each other
countries.
every day.
Yeah, we were hanging out every day, and it felt like, okay, Molly and Tony, Cam and I, we're on this trip together basically, and that's going to be the same kind of vibe. I'm pretty sure. Obviously, they're not. He and Kelly are not together, but it feels like we have that sort of that feeling down where we know it's a cool thing and like an exciting, fun thing too, just to be on a, because you don't get that a lot in the sport. You don't get like that full-on team camaraderie, and a whole different a female perspective with it too.
That's a really good point that you bring up, is like seeing it in a different light, because like Mars and Jupiter, you think different ways with the X's and O's. So that's a really good point, to see the sport through a different lens.
For sure,
it's definitely different. I think it's a cool way to have it. I mean, our group chats every day, we're all texting each other. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun just to have like a different way to look at it for us.
Yeah. Well,
cheer for your team. Everyone kind of enters the stadium together, I think. And,
yeah.
I think the idea of what they're doing with the league is cool. Hopefully we can just keep the momentum going and get people to keep people out there to watch.
And it worked with San Diego Smash. I think they picked up on that a bit early last year, and just having the 4 of them be a team and doing some other things. So
they were having meetings.
Lessons learned, with
you need
sports
to take care of your stuff.
And with a whole holistic team behind the team. So it changes the dynamic for sure.
And I think that too is sort of the goal. I don't want to speak for the AVP, but I think that is sort of the goal that they have in mind, is we want to have that happen sort of organically. And then, if it feels like that's happening, and teams are sort of taking it upon themselves to help each other and be a little more symbiotic and not just like 2 separate teams. I know that the result and the finals qualification stuff this year has changed, and obviously that makes it a little more difficult to be all in with each other. But I don't know, when you're both representing the same logo and the same name, and you have that feeling of, okay, we're together in this, and we're going to be going to all these different weekends together. it's fun, and you want to build with people, and I think we can definitely take Molly and Kelly's perspective and their knowledge of the game, and Jordan, their coach, his perspective on what's going on with Cam and I. Like, we can totally utilize a lot of that stuff, and hopefully they feel the same way with us. So
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. Yeah.
I think it would be cool if, like, you just think about other pro sports and about how, you cheer for a franchise, and we're Miami Mayhem, and it would just be cool if, like, 10 years from now, Miami Mayhem is this huge.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm done, or maybe I'm not. Well, obviously, 10 years from now, I'm not going to be playing, but maybe you're
Never
still
know.
playing. But like, I just think it would be cool to be like, man, we were one of the ones that started that franchise a little bit, like, because now it's all like new and people aren't super tied to these teams yet, besides the fact that we have family and friends and we're trying to grow something in Miami. It would be just it'd be cool to see it grow to that point where the Miami Mayhem are like a big
Yeah.
thing, household name.
For sure.
Being part of that, the history of that franchise, it'd be really cool. And obviously, it's got to start somewhere. So it started now in year 2, and hopefully it keeps growing. And it's going to be interesting, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting to note because I work for the PVF, Pro Volleyball Federation, for the Pro Indoor League. And it's really neat to see, like, I worked in Grand Rapids, they have a team, in Columbus, Orlando, Atlanta, and like going to those cities, and Middle America just like loves volleyball in general.
Sure.
But like Indianapolis sold out their arena twice this season, like once for an all-star game, once for a home match, and they at least have like over 2,500 people at every match, right? So it's like the audience is there and it's like ready, like they want the content.
Yep.
But it's cool because like I pull into Grand Rapids, it's like a smaller Chicago, and there's billboards of the Rise, like on the side of the stadium with their hockey team, with their basketball team, like, and it's just really cool to see like the billboards and the banners like in the cities, and hopefully like that's what the AVP will also be doing.
And I think you guys have a cool venue where the basketball 3-on-3 takes place.
Yeah.
So that's a really unique and
Miami,
special.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a small. I heard it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
It's
small.
only
It's
like
small.
1,000
It's
people,
built for
maybe?
TV, basically.
Built
And,
perfectly for
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool. So we know there's not a giant following in Miami yet for the AVP, but there's a Florida base there, so there will be people, and it holds I think maybe a couple thousand, maybe a little bit less, and so they will have that opportunity to be there in that cool small atmosphere, and then it'll also be a great TV product, which is what which the AVP is hoping to put out there.
Yeah.
And that's where the eggs are in their basket.
Yeah,
so.
kudos to the brain behind the person finding all the cities and building the franchises and building, because they're also, like, Miami's a great sports city,
It is, yeah.
with the Miami Heat and partnering up that way. So
I think there's so many opportunities, like you said, in Middle America, like places that are not California, let's say. Because Molly and I have a place in Portland. I've had multiple people reach out to me since the last time I talked about having a Portland place on a podcast like a while ago. a bunch of people reached out to me and said, hey, like, we would love to bring you in and blah blah blah. We'd love to have a clinic, and I have this community here that loves it. Obviously, there's Seaside, so there's that. I mean, we've talked to people in Oklahoma City who want to be a part of things too. So there are pockets all over the country where people are really passionate about beach volleyball, and they know everything about the AVP, like more than we thought they would ever know. And I think if the more we can utilize that, the more we can show those people, okay, we're coming to your city, we're gonna be we're gonna be there. Dallas will have all those people there, like all those people from Oklahoma City will be there in Dallas, I'm sure. And yeah, so we have to capitalize on that.
That's huge. That's so fun. Yeah, the best arenas, in my opinion, for volleyball are hockey arenas and the small arenas, because it's super intimate and you're right there, like on the ground. And this is kind of similar to like some Euro stadiums where it's like their fans are on top of you, but like
you hear them.
you hear them
Yeah.
loud and clear,
Yeah.
like on the upper deck. Like
Yeah.
I was like, what? Like during a game, but that's what makes it, right? Is the environment.
Definitely. It's got to have that. It's got to have that beach, the feel of old school beach volleyball where everybody's on the court, not on the court, but like very close to the court. There's no outer space outside of the court. It's a big court, so it's like out of bounds is out of bounds. In the people, basically,
Yeah.
is when it's out of bounds. and you have rows and rows and rows, and you hear everybody, and there's lots of heckling, and there's lots of energy. That's the atmosphere I think that needs to be created, even if it's indoor.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get the drums going.
Yeah.
Where's the ante
Well,
with the drums?
It
Bring
will
the
be
mayhem.
interesting,
Yeah,
yeah,
we're
who
the
your
mayhem.
iconic fan is and what they bring. You know, there's always that one fan
Yeah.
that does something different. So there's been a lot of changes, though, you know, in the AVP, on the World Tour. World Tour wise, we have coaching in the box starting in Stad. We also have testing out the new hand setting rules, you know, calling the catch a little bit. What do you guys see to be the biggest changes on the men's side, either strategically, advances in the game, coming down through the league, and even internationally as we
Yeah, I think
go?
over the last, and I've been playing forever, so over the last few years, I think they're trying to make it. They're trying to get a little more indoor style. Obviously, bringing a coach in and trying to change the doubles rule, and the game is sped up so much. I think both men and women, but I think they want to see more teams trying to do stuff like the Swedes are doing, and like James jump sets a lot, and I think moving the ball around and creating like spectacular volleyball is what they're looking for to do. I think looking at like my career of playing, it went through different phases of like when I first started, everyone started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I started out as like a really big defender. And then I became like completely average sized like a few years later because
And
everyone got, I'm 6'5".
Yeah, I was like,
Everyone
that
got
was
kind of
He's
like
a tall
big.
you're a tall 6'5" too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would even give you,
I'm a
you're
solid
pushing
6'5".
6'6".
I don't know, maybe.
Almost.
But yeah, either way, it's so then it started doing that, and then it got like so big that there were 7-footers and like these rushing. All these guys were just massive, and then lately it's been getting a little more like, you know, I think a little smaller and a little faster, and just ball control. Like people are all serving a lot tougher now, and if you can't pass and set, you're not going to win a lot. So that's kind of, I think that fits good for what we do, keeping the ball, like passing, ball control, moving the ball around, and then using like changing the offense when you can. I think it's good. I think FIVB just kind of pushing the game is okay. I think the doubles thing is not a huge deal. I think most pros aren't going to set like terrible balls most of the time anyways, so I think you won't notice that much. It just takes away a lot of like the weird plays that people are like, what just happened, or was it a double? And the refs are always kind of like, I think that might have been. And so I think in the long run, it's not going to really hurt it that much because pros are really high level. But yeah, I think the game is just keeps changing, and as athletes, we have to keep adapting as well. And I think that's part of it. I think that's why, you know, it's not easy to have a long career, and you got to learn new things all the time. And it's for me, it's like a new challenge, and personally love learning and growing. So if it wasn't like that, I think it would be kind of boring, and it wouldn't be like back in the day where it was like everybody just passed kind of middle, high, up and down sets, and you just go like that's just what you would do. When I first started playing, it's like, okay, this is what you do. And then people started doing like back sets. You're like, dude, back sets, like, and then all of a sudden the game started evolving, and I think it's just cool. Everything is going to evolve over time, and people are going to get bigger and stronger. And look at the NBA. Look at like just the way things change all the time. Obviously, NBA is kind of turned into like a shooting game, and now maybe I don't know, it changes all the time. But like it's just you have to learn. You have to learn or you're done. So that's just part of it.
Yeah.
People that can adapt and learn will have good long careers. Yeah, I feel like that's.
I think to add one more thing, I think looking past where it is right now, because oftentimes people are trying to catch up to what's the latest thing, you know, and they're maybe one step behind or in step with whoever's on the cutting edge, you know. Recently it was Sweden, now everybody's jump setting. I think the next thing with a lot of these handset call changes and things where offenses have become a lot faster and a lot harder to stop, basically. I think maybe the most effective weapon against that as a defense is your serve, and I think more aggressive serving and even topspin serving and being okay with more errors too. I think that's going to be, not that you want to make a bunch of errors, but you've kind of seen that start to happen in indoor volleyball, 10 years ago, and that I think is going to start to happen a little bit more on the beach too. People are going to be okay with missing a few more serves if you get the other team out of system 4 or 5 times, because then or get a couple aces, because that might be the only way you stop them anyway. That was how we had to when we beat Sweden a couple months ago. That was the only way we did that. We got them way out of system a lot of the time. We served really, really well in that match.
What about swing blocking?
Swing blocking is another one. Yeah, I mean that's a big one where I think there's not a lot of guys that do it right now. They kind of do it out of necessity if they get stuck, but a lot of guys don't know how because they've never played indoor, or they just never have been coached that way. But yeah, I've noticed that be effective, especially on this shallower sand, area. And so I think
it's hard. Like
both of those things.
As a blocker, you're supposed to take the option, but then if you're not getting to the jump set, which is at the pin now, it's how are you supposed to get there unless you jump, and you can work at the defense a little bit. Like usually, take the side that's closer to the hitter so that the blocker doesn't have to go as far, but you can't take both. Really, it's really difficult to take both. So maybe there's a way of doing a bit of a jump, swing block. We'll see, I guess.
Yeah. What's one piece of advice for somebody tuning in Indianapolis or Oklahoma City? Each of you, I'll ask James, setting in transition specifically, what do you think about? And then Chaim, I'll ask you about hitting in transition maybe, or something that stands out to you that you want to share.
That's a perfect question because we were actually working on that today. And you mentioned to me too, or actually no, we were playing with John Mesco, who was helping us out. He was like, yeah, man, or was it you? Take more chances.
Oh yeah, he was saying take chances.
Take chances when you're setting off the net, because if you're setting a transition ball, like if it's not a perfect easy set right to you, oftentimes it is from him. But if it's not, and I'm running towards the back line, take a chance, because otherwise you're gonna set him 10 feet off the net. That's a really ineffective place to hit from anyway. Yeah, be okay with taking chances, and the more you do and the more you practice that, the better you get at just dialing that perfect set in. I think I'm lucky that I did that a lot in indoor, and it's really the same skill. You're just sprinting one way and trying to pick off a spot in the back of your mind, the other way. And whether you're bump setting or hand setting, it's really the same idea. You're just like shooting it back towards that spot, and hopefully he just goes and picks it off, before it gets over the net, basically. So yeah, take chances. That's
a good call.
Yeah.
You were talking about maybe offense.
Yeah, offense.
In transition in general, or just in general?
Maybe in general.
Like
what do you think about in your offense? Like.
Yeah, I think. There's a lot that goes into being a good offensive player, for sure. I think everyone has their kind of go-to swings. Most people like to swing angle and shoot line. Like that's kind of everybody's easy outs. I think if I had advice to people offensively, would be, first of all, like staying behind the ball is huge. Like in people who are like beginner levels or middle levels, it's everybody I see is getting in front of the ball, so you lose all your vision. But I think what's important is to develop a mindset where you can hit kind of everywhere on the court and practice that way. So like learn how to hit towards the line every single area, and maybe you draw something out on the perimeter of the court. If you can hit within the last couple feet of anywhere in the court, you're gonna have a good chance of scoring. It's a good mindset to have. Like hit the sidelines, get really good at that without making very many mistakes, and you're gonna do really well. But then also, like as you get to higher and higher levels, it becomes more of like a chess game of like what's the blocker going to do, and using my vision, and what's the defender going to do against me, and have like stuff in the back of your mind that if your main thing isn't working, you have other ways to score. This helps me a lot is going into a match, and I've played most teams a lot of times already, and I know what most people's game plan is against me. So sometimes I'll establish like a line swing early, because people want to block me in the angle all the time. They want to dive into my angle, and I know that's the case. So in a game, I might try to open up with a cut shot, or I might try to open up with like establishing some line heat. And that can all of a sudden they can be like, what? I thought the game plan was this. But then the next time I might do the opposite and start hitting angle early, because then they're like, it becomes a game of like, I remember what this guy likes to do to me. I think about it a lot with Theo because I train with him a lot and played him a lot. But he knows what I want to do. I played with him for a couple years, and but it's kind of fun to me to be like, I know that he's likely going to try to take this away early, so I'm going to score with this early. And then once he starts to make that other move, then I know the cut shot's going to be available. And so obviously this is like, it gets really complicated as you go, but learning what you could use to help, what shots or hits you have in the back pocket, basically, of like, this is going to be available at certain times. And then, because you're not always going to be able to rely on like your vision or your call from your partner. That stuff is very helpful, but it also sometimes doesn't work at all because they'll run like a late 4 on you and your partner's calling line and you're like, oh, I just shot the line shot. Thanks, partner. So
I do that a lot.
this is kind of like, I mean, we both give each other terrible calls all the time. It's so hard because
We've just stopped
on the world
listening
tour
to
now,
each other.
You know, swing high and hard,
Yeah.
close your eyes,
Swing
good
high-
things happen.
that works too.
That's often the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because world tour now, it's such a back in the day, again, it used to be like more like straight up line block, angle dig. Now people are just like starting in the line, diving angle, starting in the line, stepping angle, diving line, doing a Y block, doing
Yeah.
drags. So he'll be diving into the angle and then taking this. So like as a hitter, you're like, I can't really tell as much what you're doing, but I know the general idea is to take this away from me or that. So
Okay, so then on the flip side, asking you now about defense, dancing around in the backcourt behind James's block, which, what are you, 6'10"?
No, 6'8".
Okay,
Yeah.
6'8". It blends
6'8",
together. 6'8".
I
6'10"
can't call him
sounds
6'10".
huge.
No.
That sounds painful.
Yeah.
6'8" perfect.
Okay, good, good. A comfortable 6'8", blocking at the net. What are you thinking playing defense?
Again, it totally depends what our game plan is and what Mike has kind of what we've talked about with our coach. Because there's certain guys you can do certain things to, and certain guys you want to play a little more straight up against. Certain guys you want to just only do like a bunch of different moves against. And that's kind of been something that we've been working a lot on this year, is like our defense. Timing is everything for us. So for me, it's like starting in different spots, like mixing it up a lot. If there's a player that really likes to hit sharp angle, maybe I'll start a little more sharp angle, and so they're like looking at me in the sharp angle, and they're like, oh, maybe I'm going to hit seam on this one. But James knows that, so we have calls for every place that I start now. So this has been something that's new for me. So like normally I would just call like a 1. Now we'll call like an X, which means I'll start a little sharper. And so the idea is maybe this guy thinks I'm in the sharp angle, so he doesn't want to hit sharp angle. He'll hit seam, but then maybe James drops into the seam last second.
By the way, for
So
all
he
the
knows.
international coaches that are watching, none of this is true.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's true.
Anyway.
Or the
Yeah, okay. It's one,
giving away all the secrets. No.
Yeah.
I think that the funny thing is like people know this stuff,
Yeah.
but like we also will do the same call, but then do the opposite, where like
Sure.
I'll start in the sharp, but then on contact I'll be in the seam.
Yeah.
So then they're like, oh, I thought he was in the sharp, but then on contact he was in the seam. So then
Yeah.
I'll dig that ball, or the opposite with the block. So we have like 50 different combinations of defense.
and it
that we'll
happens
run.
in 8 seconds.
Yeah, it happens so fast.
like,
So like
And it will change on a dime.
changes so fast, and in practice even we get like, sometimes I'm like, man, this is a lot to think about, because we're doing even more things, like doubling up of like a complicated play. So I'm like, so if we doubled up this play that we're running a 3, then I would actually run for the 3, then actually go back to the line. It's like it gets so crazy
Yeah.
that like sometimes you need to, if it's getting crazy, simplify everything. So like we'll have games where we'll get a little bit crazy against teams, and then it's really important to come back to like what you're good at, which is blocking like whatever, more of a simple play. And then you'll basically have some games where it feels amazing and other games where it feels like crap, and you're like, well, I can't get any digs this game, but I'm serving really well, he's serving really well, and we're siding out super good, so we're still winning. And that's kind of goes back to what I said earlier. It's like defense is going to come and go a little bit, and you're going to have teams that have a beat on you, and for whatever reason we're not making plays or blocks or digs. And I think if you get super frustrated with that, that's going to be tough. But if you're like, well, we're getting frustrated, like it is frustrating, but that's okay. Like we're going to acknowledge this, and we're going to find a way to, like, thank goodness we're passing really well this game, because the option's there, and we have all of our offense in front of us, that we're still going to have a good chance to win this game. And there's not going to really be too many times when you have everything going, like where your serve, pass, set, if everything is going, that's when you win tournaments, right? anyways, I'm blabbering again. But
No, I love it.
No,
This
but
is the
every-
perfect
every-
answer.
Every boy out there is
Inside
going.
volleyball.
It's like-
it's truly inside
Yeah.
volleyball. Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
a lot to
Tell
think
it,
about.
Yeah.
It's what
You asked
what's
for it,
going
though.
through our
No,
minds.
I did. You
Yes.
gave the perfect answer. So
Yeah. Yeah.
the people want to know, you know?
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. Is there anything off the top of your head that you want the people to know about this upcoming season, about Miami Mayhem
Yeah,
or
definitely
World
come
Tour?
see us when we're gonna be. I think it's out now. I think we can tell
Yeah.
people we're gonna be in Miami. We're gonna be in LA. We're gonna be in Dallas and Austin. So go see us all those places. Hopefully we qualify for Chicago and we'll be there too. And then if you live in Europe, obviously we're gonna be in Ostrava next week. So that's coming up. We're looking forward to that. And Stad a few weeks after. Yeah. So on the World Champs qualifying path and trying to bring that, to come to fruition as a team. And so we're super excited about just the whole process of the year and how it's going so far and just building.
And we're
Really
just pumped that we get to play a lot. Like there's a lot of teams that aren't getting to play a lot of volleyball this year, and we're able to get out there and play and hopefully create more fans and community and just we want to build the game, like make it bigger and hopefully the league just goes off and that happens. And then obviously with the World Tour too. So there's a lot of us, but check us out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good
Yeah,
luck.
good luck. Yeah, you're one of the
Thanks,
only
guys.
U.S. teams that are paired together for the league and World Tour
Yes,
because
true.
people
Yeah.
are
True.
splitting
Yeah,
for
that's-
the league and World Tour, which
I don't
that
understand
really-
how it works, but
yeah, I know.
Tony's doing it, but it's like I look at it, I'm like, I don't know how you do that.
Yeah,
It would be
stuff.
tough.
But yeah, for sure, we're excited. Thank you guys.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks
good
for
luck.
coming on, and
It's
good
super fun.
luck rooting you on.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Good stuff. So, thanks guys for tuning in. If you learned anything, serve tough, swing high and hard. Make sure to subscribe to Grit. We'll catch you next time.